戦いは終わる。遅い。
Anaria Shola. Return.
When I started to explore that one aircraft that I was like, this is shockingly affordable.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have breaking news for you. This might be the first time this has ever happened. A popular influencer who once said that they were against something that they likely thought they would never have the opportunity to experience, something that it's the popular opinion to be against, has now completely changed their mind once they realize that they do in fact have the funds to experience that thing. Have we ever seen this? Ladies and gentlemen, finally, some good YouTuber drama. I feel like it's been a while since anything juicy yet still fun to talk about has come across my desk. Seems like most of the things we've talked about involving YouTubers recently has not really so much so been drama, but instead just horrible or depressing shit. So, nice change of pace. Recently, Linus Tech Tips, one of the biggest tech YouTubers on the planet, has recently found himself in a bit of hot water because he bought a private jet. And a lot of his audience is not super happy. Now, if you've been keeping up with Linus and how the internet has sort of been viewing him recently, you might already understand why that might be. But if you don't, there's some extra context that you should know. I'll try and fill you in real quick. This video is mainly going to be focusing on Linus's video where he actually reveals the jet because, oh my god, it's just so uniquely bad, even if you don't know any of this shit, but you should still know it. So basically, there seems to be two main things that are fanning this flame, beyond the fact that most people can't really find you all that relatable anymore after you buy a private jet, and also a lot of people just have personal issues with private jet use. And those two things are, one, Linus is on the record himself saying that he doesn't really agree with private jet usage. Like, for example, he said this about Taylor Swift.
Taylor gets a lot of shit for her private jet use.
Or jet travel, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that there is, I don't fly private. I don't even fly first class. So, I kind of look at private air travel and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't seem great. The sheer amount of fuel consumption. So I have my own thoughts on private travel. I don't feel it's necessary for me in any kind of security way. And I'm not super keen on it. I don't think it's great for the world.
And two, there's a bit of controversy surrounding how his employees are paid, with the most famous example coming from a longtime former employee of Linus Tech Tips named Jake Tivy, who publicly left the company and then made a video explaining his decision, with one of the main reasons being his compensation, with him saying, and I quote, "You kind of start thinking while you're working on your boss's third house, if you're ever going to be able to buy a house." So those are the two main things, and I'm sure you can probably understand why those two particular issues might make the fact that you just bought a private jet look a little bit worse than it might otherwise. But again, like I mentioned earlier, just the video alone where they reveal this private jet, the way it's framed, the way it's handled, is just kind of bad. There are some real questionable moments, and I can see why it's kind of splitting up his audience. So we're going to take a look at this video, kind of form our own opinions, and go from there. Let's begin. Please subscribe.
So the April Fool's wasn't a joke? We actually bought a jet?
What started as a meme on WAN show when I discovered that a jet-propelled aircraft is not as expensive as I initially thought. I'm serious.
Okay.
Even Luke was shocked. So I started exploring various options, and my uncle's in aviation and has been for many years on the pilot side, mechanical side, and operations side.
Okay.
So when I started to explore that one aircraft that I was like, this is shockingly affordable.
Okay, so right off the bat, and really this is my main gripe with the video, I feel like Linus is being extremely disingenuous throughout this entire thing. Calling any form of private jet travel affordable is fucking laughable. No, look, I'm not gonna play stupid. I understand what he's probably trying to say here, which is, hey, it's not a $70 million Gulfstream, but saying it's shockingly affordable might be one of the most out-of-touch things I've ever heard a YouTuber say.
So because of the non-disclosure agreement that we signed in order to purchase it,
Okay.
like, this whole world is very closed door.
Yeah.
I can't actually tell you how much I paid. But what I can tell you is that if you Google it, it's less than that. And the second thing that I can tell you is that with a little bit of girl math, $0. I would have been crazy not to buy it.
All right, so this is where we really get into the kind of bullshit I'm talking about. Again, trying to say that you are spending $0, that you're losing money if you don't buy a private jet is unfucking believable. Also, the whole if you Google it, it's less than that thing sounds kind of silly to me. Oh, it's not the exact number you threw up on screen? Oh my goodness, it's almost like that's how buying any vehicle is. They're all kind of priced differently. No, but like seriously, once he starts to explain what he means by it cost $0, it just gets real eye-rolly for me. Like, I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but the title of the video where they reveal the plane is "The Gamer Jet is Real and it cost $0. Like, whatever, dude.
The engines were all on a service program from the previous owner that entitles you to completely refurbish them to effectively 0 hours brand new once they reach end of life. All 3 of those were done right before we purchased it. It's effectively brand new from an engine standpoint. Each of those refurbishments is worth anywhere from $1.1 to $1.2 million.
Each? And there's 3 of them?
The jet was also in for a 12-year service. And because my uncle's a shrewd negotiator, he put together a purchase contract for us where it was guaranteed that once it came out of that 12-year service, it was at Dassault specification. That 12-year service effectively cost as much or more than the rest of our purchase price.
So what you're saying is you got the plane for free?
So when I'm done with it, with the condition that it's in, with some of the special features that it has, for example, it is one of the few 900Bs on Earth that has a medevac kit. When it's time to divest of this thing, I should be able to get back what I paid and maybe even the bulk of what I spent operating it.
Okay, so to me, this seems like an extremely optimistic claim, especially if you're familiar with what it costs to operate, maintain, insure, and store a private jet. Now, obviously, I'm not like an expert in shit like this, but basic intuition and also like from the research I could gather, this just seems like normal aircraft purchase procedure. From what I can tell, it is just normal to service your airplane in this kind of manner before you sell it, because if you don't, just like if you were selling a car that needed a major maintenance, you have to price that into the sales price. So I mean, like, he's the one who just bought the private jet, he probably knows a lot more about this than I do, but he could easily spend $1 million a year operating this jet. I don't really understand, like, where the idea is coming from that he's gonna be able to make all of his money back. I don't think it'd be a stretch to say that he could make back what he bought the plane for, but to recoup a bulk of his operating costs, I don't see how that could be possible. Also, and maybe I'm just projecting here a bit, but I've made some purchases that I probably shouldn't have made in hindsight, and if I'm being honest with myself, this is how I always talked about them right after I made them, trying to convince myself and the people around me that it was the best purchase I could have ever made in my life. Do I know that's what Linus is doing? No, but to me, it sounds like something I've done before.
And I know that you were very opposed to the jet in the lead up to this.
I was very vocal against it.
But the way that the math works, it's a little bit of cash flow tied up, but we're not actually spending any money, which is so cool.
Okay, so I mean, like, again, I would really like to see this so-called math to where you are owning a fucking private jet and taking your family to Cabo in it, but you're somehow not spending any money. Like, seriously, unless there's just something he's not telling us, which he did say there was an NDA, this just doesn't make any sense. Private jet travel is the most expensive form of travel on the planet. Beyond like using a fucking super yacht, I guess, but nobody uses those to actually travel like that. It just doesn't seem like this could be possible.
I assumed that jet fuel would be inordinately expensive. It turns out that it's actually really similar to kerosene
Okay.
and doesn't really cost that much more than regular fuel.
How much does it store though?
It's just the sheer volume of it that you go through.
Okay.
With that said, I'm starting a family vlog. That'll be coming soon. And the first episode is going to be a trip to Cabo where I treated mine and Yvonne's families. When we factor in that the fuel coming back from Mexico was half as much as we paid to go down,
Oh, whoa.
it actually cost less than buying like a first class ticket for everyone.
Okay, gonna go ahead and retract my statement earlier that him saying that private jet travel is shockingly affordable is the most tone-deaf thing I've ever heard a YouTuber say. This now holds the crown. Like, I'm sorry, but what was the expected reaction here? Oh, Linus, you should have led with this. The fuel that it costs to take 2 entire families on your private jet to a different country costs less than it would to just put them in first class? Well, now that you put it that way, why don't we all just get one? Like, holy shit, dude. First of all, this means literally nothing because fuel does not even account for like half of your operating cost to get a plane somewhere. It's usually like 30 to 40%. And 2, first class tickets are expensive as fuck. I put in some random dates, and for 8 first class tickets, which I feel like is a safe, if not low assumption to how many people would go when you say you took 2 different families, from Vancouver to Cabo is 20 grand. I found a fuel calculator online, and while it's probably not perfect, it estimates that it would cost you about $14,000 to $16,000 in fuel to get from Vancouver to Cabo and back. Which, I mean, like, I guess if you just had to get to Cabo and your only other option was first class and you only had to pay for fuel, yeah, I guess if you ignore the fact that you had to buy a $5 million airplane for that to even be an option, sure, you're saving money, but that's not the actual story. Like I said, fuel only accounts for about 40% of your operating cost when flying an airplane, which if you're paying 15 grand in fuel, and that's 40% of your total cost, that means that his actual cost to get his plane to Vancouver, to Cabo, and back was really probably about $35,000 to $40,000. And that's just to get there. So I mean, like, it feels very disingenuous to be like, oh, well, I mean, fuel is technically cheaper than the most expensive plane ticket you could buy, so we're saving money. No, you're not. You've got to pay the pilots, you've got to pay insurance, you've got to pay the countries that you're flying into, over, and out of to be in their airspace. You've got to account for the engine hours you're adding to the plane. He was real happy about the fact that somebody else paid that $1 million per engine for the overhaul. If one single engine overhaul cost $1 million, imagine how expensive the cost is to operate that engine per flight hour. Spoiler alert, it's a lot. Like, look, personally, I don't really agree with it, but I can't make myself lose sleep over every single super rich guy who buys a private jet. If I did, I don't think I'd ever sleep again. So I mean, like, if this guy really wants to buy a private jet, I'm not going to be picketing outside of his office, but what I do think is pretty shitty is buying a private jet because you want one. Obviously, nobody gets in the fucking market for a private plane unless you just really want one. And then going onto your YouTube channel being like, oh, well, it actually didn't cost me $1. It's super cheap, it's super affordable. Like, just be honest. Like, come on, you're buying fucking private planes, you've kind of lost, like, oh, I'm just one of you guys look. Just be honest. It's more respectable. It makes you look better. Trying to frame this in a way where you're like, look, if you only consider one expense, this is basically cheaper than taking my family on a nice vacation, is pretty questionable. Okay.
I feel as a
Welcome to the Dragon Isles.
New students. How wonderful. It has been quite some time since the Academy has...
Well, it seems like things are in firm. Indeed. Come with us. It should only take a moment to set up for a new lesson.
These lashers must have grown wild while we were away. Please, if you could, clear them out while we realign the life magics of this place. I need to get close.
I'm out of here.
just about... Wait! Ichistras, there is too much life magic. What are you doing?
Me? There is too much nature. What are you doing?
What is that thing? This is your fault.
Absolutely not!
Please, help us, dear students. I'm out. I cannot use that yet. For your help. Though, this all could have been avoided by someone not trying too hard. It's still recharging.
Arena. Wait, what are these birds doing here?
Target something first. It's not ready yet.
Now we need to clear out the big one. I will activate the goals for Lishrath. That is Talentos for you soft skins. Use them to get her attention. Huh? At least we know that works. Watch yourselves.
I can't drink anymore yet. I need to get closer. It's still recharging.
too far away. Just putting together my I need to target something first. Here we are. Ahem. Long ago, members of the Blue Dragon Flight accidentally overloaded an arcane elemental and created a powerful construct named Veximus that quickly started to wreak havoc. The Blue Dragon
I cannot use
Veximus
it.
fiercely, attempting to prevent it from a falling stream that could allow it to fall. In order to full arcane power against them.
the sacred halls of learning. Only those readiest may access them. Think about what you have done. Some merit points for you.
I'm out of ways.
Jester! Learn from this! Learn from this!
It's not ready. I need to get closer.
Pass the semester! Think about what you have done! Think about what you have done! Learn from this! Think about what you have done! Pass the semester! Think about what you have done! Think about what you have done!
Won't be so lucky next time.
I need to target something first.
Oh, and it's you again. I'll be waiting for our next meeting. spare you. Farewell. Fair skies and strength.